happy and healthy. How are you today? Happy Tuesday. I am filming this podcast on a Monday, and boy, does it feel like a dang Monday. So I really hope y'all's Tuesday is going well. Currently, as we speak, I have been so unbelievably productive, and you guys will hear me talk about this in this episode today, where I literally just woke up and went on a mad, crazy cleaning spree. Like, I kid you not, I was so productive. I decluttered so much stuff: closet, bathroom, garage, took down all the Christmas decor. I mean, it's no, what's today? It's January 24th when I'm filming this. And we just now took our Christmas decor down. Oops. But better late than never, okay? So anyway, I have more thoughts on that. But anyways, I've been doing really well. I'm wearing this new green color, which I'm like, is green my new color? I don't know. Should the podcast colors be green? No, I'm just kidding. But I do love this green. If you're watching the YouTube video, which you guys should, I upload these on YouTube as well. So go check that out. Happy and Healthy Podcast. You can see this green color. Before we start in today's episode, I did want to give a shout out because I noticed that I got a new monthly supporter. The monthly supporter is Frankie. Frankie, you are the GOAT. You're the best. Thank you so much for sowing a seed into this podcast and donating monthly. I don't ask for this, but sometimes you guys just do it, and I'm like, whoa, thank you so much. So again, if you want to, the link is down below. It is not a requirement. These podcasts are free to listen. It is absolutely not a necessity, but I do so appreciate it. So I just want to give Frankie a big shout out. So, let's just do a round of applause for Frankie. How do I find that sound effect? Wait, where is it? Frankie. We love Frankie. Thank you so much. But anyway, that's so amazing. All the links will be down below for donating, checking out the podcast, YouTube, as well as my guest information. So for today's episode, I'm really excited to interview Cecily. Cecily and I met back in September of 2021. We met at Next Gen Summit in Nashville, and I was like, who is this girl? She's dope. She's young. She's talented. She was on The Voice. She is a Christian artist, an amazing singer. Oh my gosh, her voice, I could listen to it all day long. And she just has so much wisdom for her age in this podcast. And maybe you're in the music industry or Hollywood or anything like that, and you're aspiring to be like this. Hope you guys will enjoy this podcast and check it out, because she has a lot of stuff to say that, I think not a lot of people say. And I was inspired by it. So I really hope you guys enjoy today's episode. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week with another fun guest. But for now, enjoy today's episode with Cecily. Cecily, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Happy and Healthy. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
You know what? This is so funny. I don't know if you are on a cleaning kick starting January. Literally, no, is that a no?
No, a cleaning kick all the time. It's not just a January thing. It's
Okay,
a
so you're
Cecily thing.
a very neat person.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think I need to adopt that more, because I literally woke up this morning and I don't know what it was. First thing I did, which was not good. I didn't even get in the word. Didn't even eat breakfast. Went straight psycho and just started throwing crap and being like, everything has to go, and just literally putting things in trash bags. And I was like, my roommate was like, are you okay? And I was like,
oh my god,
I was like, I just can't do it anymore. So I just went on a full-on cleaning spree today, and I just feel like I can think clearer. So that was my little rant.
Yeah, being clean is definitely a necessity for my life to function.
Yeah, I feel like with maybe writing music, that probably helps you think better, perhaps.
Oh yeah, for sure. I already have enough chaos happening in my mind musically to have chaos in my life and in my house. Couldn't handle both.
Yeah, totally get that. So yeah, before we go any further, I just want my listeners to know who you are. So do you mind kind of just giving intro on yourself, kind of what you do, and then obviously I want to hear more of your story.
So I'm Cecily. I don't usually bring my last name into things, so I'm just going to keep it at that.
Okay.
I am currently 19 years old. I'm from South Carolina, born and raised there. but I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been here for the last year and a half. I am a full-time songwriter and worship leader and also just like recording artist, and just anything creative and music related is my jam. And I have two awesome roommates. I live in the sweetest little home and just living life day by day.
I love it. That was a great intro. It still blows my mind that you're literally 19 years old. I'm
Me too.
like when I met you, so backstory, we met this past September at Next Gen Summit in Nashville. And when I heard you were 19, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, you are so mature for your age and you've done so much. I was just so
Yeah.
impressed by your age.
Yeah, I lived a lot of life.
You
I feel like
have.
a cat. You know when they say, like, cats have 5 lives? I feel like I'm on, like, my 3rd, and people just don't know it.
I'm dead. Yeah. So you have a pretty cool story. Like we at Next Gen Summit, we kind of got to get into it. And unfortunately, like we didn't really get to finish your story. But from what I did hear, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get her on the podcast. Can you tell a little bit about your story? Because you were on The Voice. And I have so many other questions for you, but can you just give like a little bit of a backstory with just you being on The Voice?
Yeah, so, even being 19, like, that seems young, but even further back to that, when I was 16, I, tried out for The Voice, and not only was The Voice kind of crazy in the time that I was, like, age-wise, but I had also just gotten accepted into a boarding school for music, so I had just moved 4.5 hours from home, was living in a dorm room at 16, basically studying music full time as well as doing just high school life. And I thought to myself, like, this is the time to chase dreams. Like, of course, like I'm young. And so I tried out for The Voice. And in the mixture of that as well, I had this like really random, really stupid video go viral. And it was me like singing my order in a McDonald's drive through.
Okay,
And
I
I'm
finally
like,
watched it. When I was like researching for this, I finally watched it and I want my like podcast coordinator to include that cuz I was like, "Dang, sis."
I have a pretty long order because I have a lot of people, so just bear with me.
Yes, ma'am, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, I want a number 6 supersize with a Sprite and large fries. Mustard ketchup only, please. But don't you forget the cheese. I got a sweet tooth, but I'm in a hurry. Can I get one small McFlurry? Give me one of them sprinkle with some M&Ms. I'm feeling it. Excuse me, ramble lady. Can you tell me, did you get that? My order. Was it too fast? Cause I don't wanna have to come back. No, to the drive-thru, the drive-thru. Did you hear me? My order coming clearly. Cause if it's Mickey D's, please, I'm wanting it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. Oh no, 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 no. She's seen better days. Oh my gosh. So literally it was almost this dream of like what you hope for your whole life as a kid is like, I want to be famous, right? And then you get there and you see like kind of the pressures of like the world seeing you and knowing your name. Especially for me in that time, it was definitely more in a secular way, considering that it was like national television and The Voice and a viral video. And then that video also led me to the Steve Harvey show, and I went on there and performed and interviewed as well. So there was a lot of like really cool things happening, but also like super stressful. And I'm 16, and at the time I barely knew how to form words and sentences. So it was just kind of like mumbo jumbo. But so I ended up on The Voice, made a team. I was on Team Blake. Love him. He's so sweet. Like, I didn't really get to know him that well, but he is awesome. So if anyone's ever wondered, he's truly awesome.
Aw.
In the midst of that too, like I knew the Lord, grew up in church, like literally in the Bible Belt. So I knew who God was, but I wasn't really walking in relationship with him day by day, hand in hand, anything like that. But I remember just in the chaos of everything that was happening in my life, from being full-time high school, not even like college, but like high
Yeah.
school, and then studying classical music and needing to make sure my grades are up and all these things. I was also like part-time living in LA in a hotel room, doing this show full time and trying to keep up with social media and like all of these new fans and these friends and new people coming into my life. And at 16, like the best I knew to do was like just have fun in it. But then when the fun kind of went away and the responsibility and the maturity of it came, I just kind of blanked.
Mm.
Um, so in The Voice, kind of traditionally in the show, the first 3 rounds are your blind audition, your battle round, and then the final like recorded round are the knockouts. And so I was the day before my battle round, so the second round of the show, I kind of hit this rock bottom. I had already officially resigned from the boarding school because I was so overwhelmed by the workload and the pressure of it. So I left that school and I was in LA and I was doing this second round. And the night before, I just kind of hit this low and really was just like, maybe I should try this praying thing. Like, it might be helpful. It's like biblical, might be great. And so I was like, hey, Lord, what's up? Like, I was like, hey, homie, I haven't seen you in a bit, but hope you been well. And I was just like, if making it past any of this is gonna risk me ever knowing you to the fullest, then I don't want it. And honestly, I even kind of wildly was reflecting on that today. I was thinking about how I didn't really know how to pray a prayer like that. I didn't really have an example or a reason to pray that prayer. And I fully believe it was like honestly the Lord praying on my behalf because it's like, hey, like I don't want to risk not knowing you. And even though I don't really know what the fullness of like life with you looks like, I want to try. And the next day, I lost my battle round, was on a plane back home to South Carolina, and was officially done with all of it. The Voice, I was done with boarding school, and my viral video had like disappeared. I think it was in part like the kindness of the Lord, but also led me into like the sweetest season of just like really recognizing what that Bible verse, like my yoke is easy and my burden is like, feeling in the real life. Like I actually felt the replacement of like all of those pressures on my life being removed and being replaced by like the soft and the easy and the light burden of the Lord. And so I was still 16. I mean, this all happened in only 6 months, which is crazy. It was like really
Wow.
chaotic, really fast, and finished high school in a year. So I ended up graduating high school early. So I
Wow.
finished in January of 2020, literally the Lord, because I would have failed online school in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, girl,
So,
same.
so I was like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. And honestly, in that year, I'd be lying if I said like I just like chased after the Lord in every which way. Like I totally like pursued him more because I was like, thank you for being the God that saved me from that.
Mm.
But I still had all of these like things that I was still working through from that season. That was that whole thing.
That is just so crazy. Like, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I started my YouTube when I was like 16, but it was not like that. Like, that was actually what I felt like happened to me my senior year of college. But to be like 16, just thrown into that, I mean, I bet your friends probably thought you were crazy. I bet they were kind of like, okay, bye, see you never. And
Yeah.
you didn't really get like a normal high school experience. Like, do you
Yeah.
feel like you regret that at all, or are you so thankful for just like every step of the journey?
Yeah, I think like lately I'm super thankful for all that I learned from all of that. But there are definitely parts in my heart and in my life where I'm like, I feel like I missed like the full high school experience and the full like growing up and like coming of age like
Yeah.
lifestyle. But I'm also just a firm believer in like nothing being wasted and like the Lord using everything. And so I absolutely see like the beauty and the redemption of all of that in my life now. There have definitely been moments where I'm like, I would have loved to just like go to prom and like chill and like, just go to regular
Yeah.
classes, like, and not have to walk the halls and be like bombarded by my classmates, like, oh my gosh, like you were on The Voice last night. And so there's
Mm.
sweet things in that, but there's also like, I'm just here just trying to finish my classwork and just trying to pass. Thank you.
Dang, gosh, I can't imagine. It's like you're like the Hannah Montana.
Oh my gosh, actually, that was my bestie. I was like, she gets me. She gets me.
She does. Well, you honestly have like such a gift, and obviously I've heard you sing and all those things. And like, what did you do? Like, how did you handle, people questioning you or people doubting you or people being like, this is ridiculous, or just being like, no, you should have a normal high school experience, or like parents being like, I don't know if this is really it. How did you handle that? Because I know that's something when we chatted, we actually related to that in the sense of like parents being like,
Yeah.
what the freak are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, are these gonna pay your bills?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
definitely would say that, like, in as far as, like, parents go, like, my mom's totally, like, a dreamer, and she dreams with me, and she sees the things that I see, and I'm such a dreamer. My dad's definitely more on the realistic, like, traditional side of things of, like, "Hey, like, have a job that's stable, that pays your bills, and then you can also dream and do the things you love, but prioritize, like, taking care of things and just, being a caretaker as who he is just like that's his nature. And so I think that there were definitely like tensions between like my parents and I, and just the things that I believed that the Lord had placed in my heart, because especially in the voice stuff and like tracing the dreams of like going to boarding school and all those things, I think if anything, it was just like I just was chasing whatever came. And not really being like that smart about my decisions. I just was like, whatever sounds fun, whatever makes
Mm,
sense, whatever seems like it will work, like I'm just going to do it. And so if anything, I think that's like one of the biggest lessons I've learned is like not everything is a God thing.
yeah.
Not every well, specifically not every good thing is a God thing. Not saying that like the Lord can't meet you in it, but it's like still good things, like there's always like a better option with the Lord. And so with that whole season of my life of just like chasing and pursuing every single thing, this like spirit of striving was like one of the biggest things that came out of my like was just a fruit of my life. And that was something that even now in my life, as I'm healing and still like processing what that season of my life was like, I'm learning how to unlearn like the routine of striving and
Mm,
just trying to get and do every single thing that feels good, and just actually being intentional in prayer and discernment of like, is this a God thing? Is this what the Lord's calling me to right now? Is this what I'm called to be doing? Is this going to be worth the investment? Is this like a cost that is like worth it? Or is this going to be like something that hurts,
yeah.
what
Mm-hmm.
he has coming and all these things. And so I think if anything, if ever there was tension in like friendships or in family, it was them trying to show me that, but without me like wanting to press in. And so in the heat of all of it, I was definitely like, you guys just don't get it. Like, these are my dreams. Like, this just makes
Right.
sense. But I think in the kindness of like people who love you well, they like don't want to see you get hurt, but they also are like, especially parents, they're like, hey, like you're going to learn lessons on your own. And like, I can only do but so much to help you and be here to like teach you and grow you. But also you have to like walk through life alone and experience different things that are going to teach you for you. Then at the end, we can have like a powwow and talk about how
Yeah.
like this could have been better or this could have been better or whatever. And sometimes you get the parents that are like, I told you so. And then you're like mad, but then you're also like, but I get it because you really did tell me so.
Yep.
Um, in the independence of that season, I learned so much, like how to discern those things and trusting. And that honestly, that was the biggest thing, is like trusting. That's probably one of the biggest lessons I learned, is like trusting people and learning how to trust myself and trusting the Lord and his plans and all of that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's really cool though, because I do feel like even in those seasons when you're striving or you're maybe seeking or chasing the wrong things, I still feel like there's nothing that God can't redeem. Like he still uses
Right.
those seasons to show you something and to shape you. And like I can so relate to that of like when my YouTube channel first took off. I mean, it was like the same thing. It was like magazine shoots and video shoots and being in commercials and flying out to LA and New York. And it was like all my friends and family were just like, are you like
Are you
okay?
okay?
Yeah, like, are
Yeah.
you good? And then like they started to see some really unhealthy things in me. And it's so hard in the moment because like just what you were saying, you're like, no, these are my dreams. And it's like, why would this be happening if it weren't God?
Right.
And your family, and the same thing, your family can be like, hey, just because it's good doesn't mean it's necessarily God. But God can use those things,
Right.
and he can totally redeem those. But there definitely has to come a point of self-awareness where you're like, okay, like I probably should slow down and have some more discernment and wisdom on whether I should accept this or not. And it's cool to see that kind of through your journey, you learn that. And I feel like you probably do a really good job of that now. And community in the midst of that is literally everything.
Yeah,
Like
seriously.
everything. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what I would do. I had some friends when I first moved to LA, and like one of my best friend was just like, you're becoming like ridiculous. Like this is just too much. Or you're like, she would just call me out. And in the moment you're
Yeah,
just so like, how dare you? You don't get it, blah blah blah. But in the end I was like super thankful that she called me out on some
totally.
stuff.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely think that in that season for me with friendships, I either like extremely pushed people away that were trying to love me. Or it was like I had those few friends that like called it out in me and like, hey, like I see this and this doesn't look like you. And I think even more than anything, like the Lord kind of shutting the door
Yeah.
and everything kind of ending because that could have extended on forever. Like I could have stayed on the show and like gotten even bigger and higher. But I think it was even like the kindness of the Lord in that to remove me in kind of like the earlier rounds of the show, and even just like me leaving that school and all of those things, that was just such a protection over my heart and over my mind. Even just down to that question again about like high school experience, like I totally got to experience more than I would have if I would have been further on the show and like stuck in LA still doing it more consistently. Like there's definitely so much beauty in all of it. And
Yeah.
that was redemptive, honestly, instantly, um, in being removed from it. But I'm absolutely thankful for that season because of like how my life looks now and the things that I'm more aware of and the sensitivity that I have to those things, and like that daily dying to striving, the daily dying to
Mm.
pride, and it's a daily thing, like daily
Oh,
surrender,
tell
daily
me about
dying.
it.
Seriously. And then also like even, and I know you get this like with the podcast and with your Instagram, like just this like mantle that we're carrying to like press in and like use our platforms as like an opportunity to share that like, hey, like I've been where so many of you want to be.
Yes.
And it's not that that is bad to get there, because if the Lord is calling you there, like he'll, he'll bring you there.
Mhm.
But it's like we've been there, we get to we've experienced it, and so now we have like a new perspective and we get to use that as like encouragement and bringing light. And so I think that even has been like one of the greatest rewards of having walked through that. And like one of the biggest things that lingers in my mind often that my pastor has like prayed over me and people in my community have prayed over me is like, um what you're going through, what you've been through, the things that you're walking through are not just for you. And so it's like the experiences that I've had and the things that I've learned from those moments is like now I have like an outlook on that and an authority to speak into it and to like encourage from that place and be like, yeah, I've been there. And I get to like talk from experience and testify even. And so I think it's really cool because I think even that is like, um having walked through that is even like a tool from the Lord to get to like talk to other people and encourage other people and shine light on it and not demonize it, because obviously there's so much beauty that comes from it. But it's like, how do we prepare and how do we even encourage people to prepare like what it would look like to be in the light in that capacity? Like, hey, okay, if you're going to be in the light like that, like get ready for this and
Oh
this.
my
And it's
gosh,
like, it's not
yes.
easy. Yeah, and so it's like even getting to share that side and being like, "Hey, if this is what you say you want, then these are the things that you're gonna need to expect." And like, okay, so then how do you prepare for those? Okay, through the word, through prayer, through community, being locked in, having those people. It's like there's no need to demonize everything that's secular or that's bigger or fame
Yeah,
or all
yeah,
of those
yeah.
things. It's just like not having idols and prioritizing, the things of the kingdom more than anything and being rooted. And so I think that's been honestly the greatest reward of having walked through all of that.
Wow, that's so freaking good. I love that you touched upon that because, yeah, I do think a lot of people look at famous people and they're like, well, they must either have it all or they must be super depressed. And it's like, actually, you can have it all and still be so joyful, but it does
Yeah,
come with extra challenges. It does come with extra pressures, a higher calling from God. It comes with stewarding your platform even more because we're held to a double standard or a higher standard if we're going to be proclaiming Jesus on the internet,
that's
which
right.
is just so hard. And I think this actually kind of bleeds into my next question because you're in the industry. I'm kind of in the industry as well. I'm in like the different side of it. But what do you think about like Christian artists that are now almost being celebrities, and they're maybe misusing their platform, or people are worshiping them, and it's like, hey, wait, they just have a gift and a calling, and they're like in this public thing, and they tend to fall, or they tend to misuse it. Like, what are your thoughts on all of that?
Ooh, I getting like bubbled up because I'm like, yes, I'm probably gonna like ramble, so stop me if I keep going too far. But this is so funny because I was just reflecting on this last week and I actually wrote a whole song about it because that's what I do when I'm thinking about things. Because I think, again, like having walked through what I walked through and experienced what I've experienced, like I think the perspective is such a gift from the Lord. So I was talking with my spiritual parents last week and we talked about, like that nature of like worship or worshiping God.
Mm,
Because it's like it's even that feels like a double standard kind of thing of like um the audience and the worship leader, or the audience and the artist, are both at fault because the
yeah.
audience is idolizing a song or a person that sings the song instead of literally God, like being their main goal. And same for like someone who has been called to like a higher authority that has a standard that's higher. And it's not saying that like someone in the industry or someone who's like got a bigger platform is like better than anyone who like doesn't have that much, publicity or whatever, but it's like there is a mantle, there's a calling, and it's higher. And so there's a responsibility with that that's higher. And so there's a sensitivity, and it's that you are seen, and that is because of the Lord. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
constant gratitude to him, like, thank you, Lord, that you trust me enough to put me in this position. And secondly, like, how do I daily die to self, daily give it back to him? I love like Jonathan, David, Melissa Helser. They have probably like one of my favorite podcasts, and like they talk about how every time it's like they get off stage, and it's like every cheer, every clap, every smile, every person in the audience who maybe like thanked them, every compliment they got from what they did or how they worshiped, how they led, even in the pure ones and the pure hearted people that are just like, thank you for your song. It's like they take every single one of those things as like a different rose to a bouquet. At the end of the night, they turn around and give it back to the Father.
Mm,
And that's what it looks like in our position of leadership. Everyone has a position of leadership. It might
mm-hmm.
be smaller than like not in front of 1,000 million people, but it might be in your home, like you're a leader, or like with your friends, you're a leader. And so it's like, are you taking the things that are compliments and turning around and giving it back to the Lord? And those things that could easily become entangled. And they say, if you hold on too long, the thorns will like bruise your hands
Ooh.
and rip them open. And so if not, if you give them to the Lord, like he receives the flowers, he gets to smell the roses, he gets to experience them. And then in his kindness, because it's just his nature, he pours out an abundance of favor and generosity and just all the good things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that with like the celebrity Christian culture and all these things of like being famous for Jesus and like
Yeah.
being influenced for Jesus and like TikTok famous for Jesus, it's like for Jesus.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like, and it's truly just like truth. That's the biggest thing that I think is being missed in the celebrity culture and the influencer culture of Christianity and being a Christian leading people is like it always comes back to that scripture, like like worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. And
Yeah.
worship is everything. It's how we live our lives, it's how we breathe, it's how we move, it's how we have our being. And so it's like the spirit of the things are like fun and like, creative and all those things, but the truth is what I feel is like so missing, is like the biblical truth and the underlying like foundations of the word that are like carrying the content, carrying the person that's producing the content, and even like the foundation of like someone's account or like Instagram or whatever it is like, is it based on the foundation of the Lord in spirit and in truth? And so I think for me, like if anything, I struggle with like the greatest fear of being like a famous Christian influencer. Like
Mm.
that's actually like my scary, like literally my biggest fear. Like I'm the most like extroverted person and I love people, but like in this last season of my life, as like things have grown, like when I go to Christian events, like I'm literally shaking out of my boots. Like I'm asking my friends to pray
You
over
do wear
me.
boots. I saw you wear them at
I
Passion. She rolled up with some cowboy boots.
and I literally paid the consequences because I was on the couch with ice packs for the next 2
I
days.
cannot.
It was so bad.
I
Oh my
hope it was
gosh.
worth
Anyway,
it.
I mean the fit went hard. Okay. Um but seriously, like the fear of it, but it's like even in the fear, it's like, no, like trust the Lord, like he trusts you. And so I think the moment that we forget as influencers that this is something that the Lord has trusted us with, then that's like when we start missing. Because if it's like
Mm,
if you start getting so confident in like, oh yeah, the Lord trusts me. Like, yeah, the Lord gave me
mm-hmm.
this. Like, so it's like even kind of twisting the Lord's
Yeah.
words of
He can
like,
take it
hey,
away in
no,
two
he can take it
seconds. In
in literally two
your whole
seconds.
account deleted, wiped.
Delete it. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Yeah, he said I canceled it in
Yeah,
Jesus'
he's
name.
like, I'll
Like,
cancel it. Mm-hmm.
so like I'll cancel your debt and your account, okay?
Mm.
But seriously, I think it's like when the shift happens of like forgetting that the Lord is trusting us with it, and like we become self like dependent, and we're like, oh, I got this, like I've been doing this long enough with you, then like now I've learned your ways. It's like, no, like you never stop learning the ways of God. And like
Yeah.
and so it's really just like that celebrity Christian kind of culture is like those who lose it, lose the revelation of like this is the Lord and he trusts
Yeah.
me with this, and the weight and the heaviness starts creeping in. It's like, okay, like well now you started opening doors for yourself that you opened. And so now
Yes.
you have to open them all. And so like if you keep walking through doors like on your own that you've opened, like you can only like hold so many doors open at one, like
Ooh.
when one thing happens like and you can't go anymore, something's gonna shut, something's gonna slam, something's gonna break, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
And like I
So
think
good.
it's so hard because it's like there's this almost paradox of like what it is to like bring the gospel to the world, like to the darkness, because it's like we assume that for something to reach the world, it has to be big enough for the world.
Yeah.
And it's not about big or small or size. It's literally God. It's him. He does the work.
Yep.
He does the move. Even like in like the book of Acts, like when there's like the all these people and in one instant like the spirit breaks and falls upon them all, they're all like baptized in the spirit and all these things are happening. It's like in a moment, like
Mm-hmm.
it took the Lord, and that's it. It wasn't that like over years this like group was just being cultivated and grew bigger and bigger and bigger because of something that someone did. It was just in an instant the Lord was like, here are people hungry for me. Here's my spirit. Okay. End of
Mm.
story. It's like, yeah. And so I think that when we start thinking about how we're going to reach the world instead of how Jesus is going to meet them, then like we start getting kind of caught up in like what we're cultivating and what we're
Yes.
building instead of what the Lord is building and trusting us to like help steward.
Yeah.
um and it's like the co-laboring with Christ, the co-laboring and the overall collaboration of what it is. But it's like also God doesn't need us.
Mm-hmm.
He just in his kindness he uses us and allows
Mm-hmm.
us to be a part of things. And so I think it's just down to that again, like the moment that we stop remembering that he trusts us with the things that he's given us. Um, and that's when we have to start carrying the weight, and it will start crippling us and falling. And
Gosh, that's so good. I mean, you literally just like popped off. Like
I
the
told you I was gonna ramble.
no, I love it because it is so true that a lot of people nowadays, I think they're seeing, okay, this Christian influencer thing is a thing. It's getting big. So therefore, let me start posting more on TikTok because I'll go viral. I'm just going to use some half truths or some trendy little rhyming sayings on TikTok
Right.
that'll get the views and get the clicks. And it's just like you have to, especially if you're going to be in this industry where you're proclaiming to be a Christian and you're getting publicity and fame and money and all these things and opportunities, it's a constant like, okay, God, let me check my heart, let me check my heart, let me check my heart. And checking your intentions. I think a lot of it is, what is your motive? What are your intentions? And I've always said this in the past, like if you're building a foundation upon yourself and it's not upon God, like it's going to fall because
Hmm.
the Bible talks about how God will humble the proud and he will elevate the humble. And
Yeah.
so if you are doing it for the wrong intentions or just trying to make a name for yourself, and again, it's like I really do believe that God gives people gifts, and he says, "Hey, if I'm giving you this gift, steward it well, make my name
Absolutely.
known." But I think a lot of people, they're like, "This is so great. I manifested this. Look, I'm all the way over here. Like I have all these numbers. It must be
Right.
something good." And it's just like, again, I'm like, if it's not on the foundation of God, or taking a step back to look at, like, okay, what am I really doing? Is there
Right.
fruit being, grown here, or is this just elevating my name? I think you'll kind of get a rude awakening of just kind of what you were saying, of like the doors will
Yeah.
be slammed shut, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's definitely scary. It's something I constantly check myself, and of like, okay, Jay, like make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. And like right now I'm on this like social media break. I've been on it for already over a week, and it's just been amazing. I'm like, whoa, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a whole podcast on it because it's taught me so much. And so just wanted to say that. And so we're kind of running out a little bit of time. So I wanted to kind of jump to the next question. So what for you about this industry do you like love? Like, what is it about like the music and creating that? And like, what type of impact do you want to make with your name and with your music?
I don't know. Whoa, that's a good question. I actually am just starting this journey of like recording my own music. I have a few songs out, but they are in collaboration with other groups or other labels. And so it's just been like I kind of jumped in on something that they already were starting. So it's just like a feature or something like that. And so that has been awesome. And it's all like me, like it's totally 100% still Cecily. But at the start of this year, the Lord, or at the end of last year, actually, the Lord and I just kind of went on this journey of like casting vision for like artist stuff and like releasing music and the songs that He's put on my heart for me to release and produce and put out. And so I, at the start of this year, have begun just like fundraising and preparing for a project and just releasing some songs and things the Lord's put on my heart. And so as I've been like praying into that and pursuing that and just starting the first steps of that, it's been really cool just to see like the correlation between like the songs that the Lord has like highlighted for me to start with and like the stories of them and like the testimonies of where they came from and when they were written and what the Spirit did in the room the day that it was written and all these things. And so I think that with getting more involved in the industry now on more of a specific and personal way instead of just collaborative, I'm starting to feel this like tug and passion and desire for like just more honesty
Mm,
and not these like overly curated and perfected things because I think that it just represents like um the other half of the kingdom. I'm not saying that like there isn't excellence and good and like well done things in the
yeah.
kingdom because I think that needs to be the case as well because I think that's even like why it's hard for so many people to reach the world because like it's not the world has these extremely high
Yeah.
standards and they have all these perfect things and it's like you assume that like you need to get up there too and so there's space for that and I think that's like in part a lot of what that looks like in the music industry but I think too it's like even the honesty and the rawness and the authenticity of worship and what that means and feels like. And for me, I've been on this journey trying to figure out like what is worship? What is the sound? And like even I've been in this like kind of like frustrated mode of like how in the like categories of music there's like Christian and gospel and that's it.
Yeah.
And then there's pop and indie and singer-songwriter and folk and jazz, and there's like 10 different genres
Right.
for, like, secular music, and but then everyone assumes to fit within the box of, like, Christian and gospel, like, it has to sound like everything else.
Wow.
And so I'm just, like, kind of just trying to, like, break that mold and, like, expand out of that because even for me, like, I've been on a journey, like, exploring to find other artists that are believers and that are Christians that are releasing music that doesn't necessarily sound like every other worship album or Christian album. And I love those albums too. They're my favorite, but like just like expanding and being more honest with our creativity and even just like in the way to appeal to the world because I feel like most of the times the questions that people who aren't believers or don't know the Lord yet are um well I'm just going to have to look like you guys and look like this and sound like this and it's like no it's like there's a
Yeah.
table and it's set for everyone and for all the things and it's open and all the sounds and all the genres and all the feels are welcome, all the vibes, you know? And so
I
I'm like,
love that.
if today I want to write like a lo-fi beats, like worship
Mm,
song, like that's what I'm gonna do, you know?
let's
Which that could be
go.
like a hint or something, but like,
Dude, I would vibe with that. I would. I
you
listen to
know,
lo-fi literally every single day.
literally every
Every
day.
day.
Okay. And so just like that kind of thing is like there's so many, like I've just heard so many people in the music industry that like they're like, I just could never do Christian because it's the sound. And I'm like, no, like it's just the spirit of God
Mm,
riding within whatever you do. It's all it's all his anyway. It's all his creatively. And so even with that, that's kind of what I feel like I believe for and want to see in the industry in my involvement. And that's been my favorite part is like getting to chat with people and meet people who have either been in the industry since like the day it started and have been doing it forever, or people that are kind of newer as well, and just casting vision with them, whether it's just for me and what I want to do and how they want to like come alongside of like what the Lord's put on my heart, or if it's stuff that's been on their heart that they just haven't met with anyone who feels the same way and they're like, whoa, like someone else sees it too, like
mm.
this is awesome. It feels good to like not be alone in this like vision that I have, or this like prayer that I've had for the industry and like breaking out of its molds in the Christian industry. So
Oh,
yeah.
that is so cool. And I cannot wait to see like what that looks like, what that sounds like. I can't wait to see what you work on this year. I feel like you have so much in store and you are incredibly talented. I mean, I'll literally just click on YouTube. I'm like, oh, there's Cecily. And like, listen, and I'm just like worshiping with you in my living room. I'm like, yes, queen. And I'm just really excited to see how you break that mold. I think that is such a stigma that, or like a what's the word I'm looking for? Misconception?
Misconception.
Yeah, about people thinking like, oh, it has to look this way or sound this way. And even just for my own industry of just like, oh, my photos must look like this. My videos must,
Right.
the editing has to be, it's like, no, like you bring your own gifts and talents that God gave uniquely to you. And it's like, we don't need 100 Sicilies. We don't need 100 Janines. Like we need your
Right.
voice and your talent. And I think just so many people are just scared because they're like, what if it doesn't work? And it's like, what if it doesn't? Then you know
Yeah.
it doesn't work and then you try again and you pick
Yeah.
yourself up and you find what really
Absolutely.
does work that fits for you and your calling. And I think that's what's so exciting. So I'm really excited to see, what you do. And I think you have such unique gift already that I can just tell, like, even just like on your Instagram, I'm like, I would have never thought to shot that, but that just looks so sick. And I'm like, dang, like I'm trying to be like her. I love that.
I'm a very honest person on Instagram.
No, I love
Very
that.
100% me.
No, I so connect with that. And I've just like felt that vibe from you from like day one. And so I just love that. Okay. Closing out on the podcast. This is the last question I'm going to start asking every single guest on season 3 is what keeps you or makes you happy and healthy?
Literally, is it so bad that the first thing that came to my head was like brownies and ice cream, which is like so not
I don't think I've heard anyone say that, but I love that. It does
literally,
keep you
that's
healthy
the
and
first
happy.
thing that came to my mind because I'm like, that is like my dessert every night. Like, if I could have any dessert, it would be brownies, hot brownies, actually, just to
Oh,
be specific.
ooh.
Hot brownies, nothing crazy, just like a fudge brownie with vanilla ice cream. Oh, so good. But in a serious way, what keeps me happy and healthy? Honestly, I love longboarding. It's like the best thing
What?
ever. I know, what a
I
surprise.
didn't
Like
know
everyone's like,
that.
You longboard?" Yeah, so I have like the sweetest neighborhood and there's like so many turns and stuff, and so I'll just like take my board out and it helps me just clear my head and like be out in creation and in the world and just like having fresh air and just like staying active in that way too. And it helps me just like focusing on the coordination of like staying up on the board. So I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
overthinking other things in my head. So it's just like the best thing to clear my head and
That's
stay
so
active
fun. I love
and make
that.
me
When I lived in LA, I actually used to skateboard like all the time. And I don't know if you've ever
happy.
used like a carver board where you like actually like carve. Love. I
Oh my
love them.
gosh.
They're so
Yeah.
fun.
I'm gonna go roller skating this week because I just love it.
That is so fun. Well, that's a great answer. I love the realness in that. And other people are like reading or da da da, and yours is like ice cream and rollerblading and longboarding. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I feel like you just have so much wisdom and for even people that are wanting to do the music industry or want to be singers, they can look up to you and follow along with your journey. So let us know, where can my followers find you and listen to you?
Yeah, so I all of my music is just under my name Cecily, and it's spelled Cecily. And then on Instagram, I'm under it's underscore Cecily. So that's ITS underscore Cecily. That's pretty much all the places that I'm active. I mean, I have a TikTok, it's the same as my Instagram, but I literally never am on the app. So but if you want to follow there too, maybe something will come. So
You
yeah.
should post on there, post your singing more on there.
Yeah, I'm like, if I post a reel on Instagram, I'll just throw it on TikTok too, just because, like, why
Yeah,
not?
why not? Well, thank you again. You guys make sure you go check her out. All the links will be down below. You're awesome. I am so excited to see what this year brings for you, and hopefully see you somewhere in the world. Whether you come to Dallas, I come to Nashville, we'll figure it out.
Hey, sounds good.
All right. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. Until next time, I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Bye, guys. Stay happy and healthy.